A goal that you feel like the more you try to get it, the farther away it gets, or just the more you strive to get ahead a little bit, the farther and more lost you seem? Steers good. I went into my first career and studied commodities, and the longer I was from home, I don't want to get into all the details, but the longer I was from home, the more I really wanted to get back to the ranch. And I didn't know what it was at the time. Maybe, I was homesick. I'd been gone for, 5 going on 6 years, but I felt this calling to go back. And so I had to make a career change, or I chose to make a career change. Things that I had throughout my career, it really drove me to start and create Agri Summit, which I talk about a lot at the end of these videos. If you're interested in that, link in the description. The point is recently, and I'd say this happens every couple months or so, it seems to be there is something that pulls me closer to God. Something that I see, or something that, it gets me a little bit more excited to either read a new story that I didn't know about or watch another YouTube video about it. And more recently has been studying the Bible and actually growing a little bit closer to Jesus and really study his life. And not just in a, this is how he was type sense, actually go through the scenarios and sort of try to picture that in a more real sense. And the more I've done that, the more I've realized, if you just look at throughout all the steps of my life, it's so amazing. All the things sort of like come together and you're like, wow, I was meant to do all of those things because it all is a part of a bigger picture. And I can see just this much of it. But that scope that we're able to see right now is so limited and so small. And so when I think about it, I'm like, wow, if all those things happened for a reason, and I'm just now seeing a glimpse of it as I'm starting to try to really devote more time into studying the Bible. How much better, how many more things, how many more opportunities, how much better can God use me for his own will if I put all that effort that I have put into other things into studying more about him, into figuring out what his will is? Because I've spent this entire time doing these different things, multiple interests, multiple different goals, and I still have some of those things. Don't get me wrong, I still have all that stuff. But it's like I've had a trouble narrowing it down to that one thing I need to focus on, until becoming closer to God. And, Agri Summit is a huge part of that, and which is why, I pivoted the channel and to just get a little bit more real with who I am on the channel and not just a very niche segment of my weight loss journey. Because, that's sort of like, weight loss has always been always going to be a part of my life, but that journey is sort of over. that season of a life of where that was such a big part is sort of phased out. And now it's sort of gaining, sort of just getting better. And the progress is so slow, and it's like, and I'm not going to be a personal trainer. So it's like, I might as well utilize this channel to help as many people as possible, which is why I started it, and pivot it along with my life, with my journey. So Agri Summit and family ranching, proving you can make a small, profitable ranch, 3 head I'm starting with, and then scale up from there. That's a start of it. But also my faith and the journey along there is a huge part of it. But the thing that I'm finding as I'm rambling here, like I always love to do, is when I focus on what God wanted me to do, it became much clearer the purpose of why I'm here. And I don't need to go into all those details, but I want you to think about your life and all the things and the purposes and, all the, those things that pop up into your head. If you're like me and you're like, oh, maybe that's my purpose. Oh, maybe this is my purpose. Maybe this is why this was meant to do. Because you're never going to figure the whole puzzle out because you're not God. You just aren't. Like I said, we could see that little glimpse. That's after the fact. Hindsight's 20/20. And with God, hindsight's, I don't know how that stuff works, so it's less than 20/20 is all I'm going to say. But once you find what God is calling you to do, your path will become much more clear. I want to share a verse with you that has really hit home with me just last night. It's Proverbs chapter 20, verse 5. And I'm just, paraphrasing, spitballing roughly what it says. A man's purpose is like deep water, but a man with understanding will draw it out. It's directly there in the Bible. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. It was just like, who am I to think that I'm going to figure out what my purpose is when my purpose is like this huge ocean and it's all in there somewhere? Who am I to pull that out without the Lord? Who am I to think that I can do that on my own? And who am I to think that I am guaranteed or blessed or chosen to have some purpose without the Lord? I'm not. And I need to sort of humble myself to admit that and say, no, God, it's your will, not mine. And then the thing is what I'm finding is the more you do that, the more you sort of get what you want. And I don't think that we should do it in spite of just wanting to get what we want. It's a part of it. But I think we really have to focus on what can we do for the Lord rather than what He can do for us. And I speak all this as a hypocrite. I'm to blame. I've done all those things just like that I'm talking about. That's why I feel like I can speak on it, because it's so true for me too. So if you feel that and you are searching for that purpose and you don't know what it is, maybe you want to have a family ranch someday, you think. Maybe you want to start with 3 head, run a profitable ranch. Maybe you want to lose weight. Maybe you want to start a business. All things in my realm. Things that I enjoy talking about. Things that I like. Maybe we should start to look and say, how today can I serve the Lord? Because when I started doing that, things became just a little bit more clear. And it's not perfect. There are days that I stumble more. There's days that I lose focus. I'm human. You're human. But the more we sort of focus on this and exercise that muscle, the better we'll get. And the more clear that path comes. And the quicker we'll get to ultimately probably what we want. God answers our prayers, just often not in the way that we expect Him to. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If it interests you, subscribe. Till next time, God bless.